everyone, and welcome to another installment of TEDXcellence, the show in which I learn how horrible I am for being what I am. And I come to you live from my Corona bunker on the moon with Dogcat Fox, a Pepperjack, and all of you. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Saturday. Serendipitous Saturday. Pulled that one out of my ether there real quick. Yes, the production value of the show has gone up slightly as I've learned how to use video overlays for my introduction. I'm going to have to come up with one specifically for TEDXcellence. That was just the standard Scribe Lite opening, but I hope you enjoyed that. A little bit more sophisticated than in previous streams. But yeah, boy, I think I have an interesting one today. I hope so. I guess we'll find out together. But who will be finding out with me? Why, that would be Wade Willison, hello. Slapper360, hello. Quinn the Cultist, hello. St. Michael, hello. Functional, hello. This is Kyle, hello. Matt Barnes, hello. Keeverdam, hello. Absolutely Degenerate, hello. Asian Hippie, hello. Zemgoa, hello. Grillin' Pirate Pete, hello. And then the chat jump because, of course, it does. Rotten Corpse, hello. Jaeger Pony. Dragon Mage, hello. Brian Has Opinions, formerly the Broken Baller, hello. Fernanda, hello. The Useless Rebel, hello. Chaos X, hello. Jordan Herbert, hello. Check Your Logic, hello. Black Belt for Christ, hello. Pinkala the Driving Ape Man, hello. Zalbla, hello. Red V7, hello. Brad Young, hello. Moonshock, hello. Crimson Tiger, hello. Pinkalo, thank you so much for the communist thumbs up. Mr. Dax, hello. Point Curation, hello. And Anthrax Allen, hello. And then chat jumped again. Toku, hello. Greg Levison, hello. Or sorry, Levson, hello. Ryan H, hello. Lurking Gopher, hello. Brutus, hello. TC, hello. Nobody Important, hello. Eric Grunstatter, hello. Roger Reynolds, hello. Brittany Holland, hello. Delta Z, hello. Dark Alile, hello. Thank you, this is Kyle. Hello, chat people and scribbles. Hello, Kyle. Gluer, hello. Kurt11110, hello. Faithless, hello. All right, guys. Spittle Buggies, hello. So, what is on the docket for today? Well, today we're going to find out why every teenage boy should be a feminist. Why every teenage boy should be a feminist. Dina B, hello. Losing my brain here, thinking about what it is to be a feminist. Kyler, hello. All right, guys. So, per usual, oh yeah, by the way, also get your TEDx bingo card ready. Link is in the description if you don't have it already. I have a feeling at least one word on this card is a foregone conclusion for being filled in, but we will proceed as we will. Yeah. So, with that, I'm going to start off with the first few seconds. You guys tell me if you can hear it. And then after that, we will begin.
As a young kid, absolutely obsessed with all things food, I could have never imagined that my love of rich Indian curries with buttery garlic naan or my never-ending craving of Baja fish tacos would lead me to have a platform to reach millions of people as an advocate for my other passion that happens to start with an F.
Wow, that's a long sentence. And also fish tacos, which I will set aside, but you guys can hear that okay? Sounds fine, says Kiefer Dam. Let's see. Anthrax Allen. His singing was beautiful last night, Faithless, but I'm biased because it was for me. My singing is always beautiful. You know, because you are so beautiful. If you think I can sing well, can't you see? Anyway. All right. So, he's very excited about curry and cooking, and that was for those of you that saw the thumbnail. All I know about the speaker is that well, he's a feminist, and apparently he's a cook or a chef of some kind. So that's why the whole edible thing was highlighted. Not that I was advocating for cannibalism or something, but all right. So his two passions in life starts with F: food. And I'm assuming then the magic word...
Feminism.
Oh, feminism. All right. Let us circle feminism on the board. And free space. So free space and feminism. There we go. And on.
My journey to being a loud and proud gender equity advocate did not come about because of any personal injustice.
Equity. Oh boy, equity already. Equity. All right, equity is also circled. Did not come about because of any personal injustice. Okay. Did it come about because of injustices you witnessed regarding those you knew or care about?
I fortunately was never the victim of discrimination, nor were any of the women in my life.
Really? Really? Wow. So no one's ever, okay.
It ended up, though, that the lack of exposure to the issue was the very thing that eventually brought it to my attention.
The lack of exposure to the issue is what brought it to your attention. Okay.
As a young kid, I naively thought gender equity was a given. I couldn't fathom that there were people who truly believed women do not deserve the same opportunities and rights as men.
Well, I'm sure there are people out there that believe that, but under the law, at least in this country, because I don't know where this is taken, maybe this is Canada or something, but even then, yeah. So, and I'll say this to everybody, as I've said in many videos in the past, if you are aware of a business or an organization or something else who is actually treating the genders differently, unfairly, call the authorities, contact a civil rights attorney, the ACLU, something, because that is against the law. That's why we have these laws. That's when the Civil Rights Acts are there, and so on and so forth. So, all right, but what examples does he have, I wonder?
This disbelief grew into an anger that ignited a fire within me.
Oh boy, a fire.
I soon became dedicated to the cause and proudly called myself a feminist.
Wow, and that changes so much. So what about calling yourself a feminist manages or alleviates or solves gender equity? And when you talk about gender equity, what do you mean? An example would be helpful.
But before I can even begin to become a true influential advocate for gender equity, I actually spent a great deal of time in what's stereotypically a woman's domain.
Oh, you mean the kitchen? You mean the domain that's been honestly made much more ambiguous, let's say, in pop culture over the last, 10, 15 years because of things like Iron Chef and Gordon Ramsay and so on and so forth? A little bit, maybe? Okay. Pink Call, the Driving Ape Man, thank you so much. Same real-time stats as the US minus the government. Oh, as in Canada? Okay. I make certain assumptions about Canada, but then those are just assumptions. So I learn a little bit every day. Thank you, Pinkalo.
The kitchen.
Yes, the kitchen.
As a kid, I was often bored by the traditional Jewish food my mother cooked at home, or the chicken nuggets, mac and cheese, and fish sticks that I was expected to love as a kid.
Okay.
Sure, I love a good bowl of cheesy pasta. Who doesn't?
I don't. Oh, sorry.
But I wanted more.
Okay.
I wanted to experiment with new spices and flavors in a way that my parents just didn't know how.
Okay. Is this growing into some kind of metaphor for gender equity or feminism? Maybe. Thank you, Killer Turnus. Killer Turnus. Hey, Scribe, what's the talk about? Doing some summer cleaning. Thanks for the entertainment. Well, the official title of the talk is Why Every Teenage Boy Should Be a Feminist. But currently, we're getting a Why I Love Cooking summary. Unless, like I say, this is leading as some sort of metaphor or allegory towards feminism. I mean, he's talking about, the kitchen is stereotypically where women are, even though very few modern people actually believe that to be the case. Maybe that's where we're headed here.
And while my family indulged my culinary aspirations by taking me to restaurants of all different cuisines, it was still not enough to satisfy my literal and metaphorical hunger for more.
Are we talking about feminism, or are we talking about your, I don't know, burgeoning career as a chef?
So at the age of 9, I became determined to make these more exotic foods myself.
Okay, family or childhood anecdote, circling that one. Okay.
Through extensive trial and error and lots and lots of dirty dishes. I fell in love with being in the kitchen.
Okay.
Not only was it a space where I could be creative, but it also had the added bonus of being able to make the food that I've always craved.
Okay.
And as my friends began enjoying baseball, video games, and other traditional pastimes for boys my age, I further pursued cooking. The same joy I saw my friends feel when hitting a home run or beating a super hard level in their video game, I felt throughout every step of cooking.
Okay. And
from start to finish, cooking was just sheer bliss for me. And while you would never know by looking at me, because I have the literal metabolism of a racehorse.
Insert Sinatra's favorite song here, just for the hell of it.
I've always been obsessed with food, and I'm constantly eating and discussing, cooking, and thinking about food.
Okay.
After about a year, cooking's no longer just a pastime of mine. It's a full-blown obsession.
I don't care. I came here for feminism. And I know how weird that sounds, but I do go into these things expecting to get something of what the title promises. Okay, let me check the bingo card real quick, because I'm sure at this point something's got to apply. Attempt to coin new buzzword buzz phrase. Not yet. Word salad. Well, I could make a culinary joke with that one, but no, everything he said so far is coherent. Systemic institutional, not yet. Patriarchy, not yet. Plays victim. Actually, as far as I know, he started out by telling us he isn't a victim because he hasn't been subject to discrimination, so I can't circle that one. Wage gap. I mean, we're in the gender equity thing somewhere, so maybe. Anecdote that probably never happened. I haven't heard anything out of the ordinary. Weightless example. I mean, he hasn't given us any examples, so not yet. Privilege. Not yet. White supremacy, no. A list, not yet. Toxic, no. Make something about race, sex, etc. for no reason. You know, if he doesn't hurry up here pretty quick, he might make this whole talk about sex for no reason simply on the basis of the title in the absence of any content. Microaggressions, unconscious bias, not yet. Leaves out vital context. Again, if we don't actually get to the subject of the talk soon, the talk itself might be leaving out the whole vital context. Self-vilification, wretchedness, not yet. Benevolent condescension, not yet. Marginalized marginalization, no. Takes credit for something done by others in their demographic, not yet, if at all. Mind reading assumes motives, not yet. And melodramatic pausing. Again, this is kind of hard to judge when you're not in front of an audience. We'll see how he goes. Something that has to be melodramatic and not just show like the very position he's in right now. That's just showmanship. I don't see that as melodramatic. So, all right, moving on.
I didn't have pictures of famous sports players on the walls of my bedroom or game consoles littering my floor. Instead, I could be found watching documentaries about Northern versus Southern Indian cuisine or learning how to make an authentic Mexican stew on YouTube.
Well, you know, I didn't have posters of sports stars on my walls, and I only had one console at any one time when I was growing up. And I watched documentaries on all types of things. I guess as compared to you, I was kind of a Renaissance teenager. I mean, I don't know what you assume most boys do, but I suppose, you know, we wouldn't want to dwell on stereotypes now, would we?
I had posters of Food Network stars all over my room, and under my bed were not baseball cards, but dozens and dozens of Indian pots and pans that we didn't have room for in my kitchen.
Well, under my bed weren't baseball cards either. I'll leave it to my regular viewers to imagine what I had hidden under my bed.
No joke.
Mm-hmm.
At the age of 11, on a complete and total whim, I applied to be on the first ever kids episode of Chopped.
Again, is this just the biography of our speaker in his food obsession, or are we going to get to the subject of the title? What are we doing here?
And much to my and everyone's surprise, I got on.
Really? Were you that surprised? You obsess your entire youth over food and... Okay.
At the time, I was excited to be on TV, but was oblivious to the multitude of opportunities and the eventual career that would emerge from this experience.
I'm trying to be polite and not say he's humble bragging every 3 seconds, but it's starting to get there. Thank you, the gayest person on YouTube. He wants to be barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen. Thank you, Chaos X, for the communist thumbs up. Okay. Moonshock says, "Get on with it." Yeah, I've got that little montage from Monty Python and the Holy Grail, where they're like, "Get on with it! Yes, get on with it! Get on with it, would you?"
After my episode aired on the Food Network, my mother suggested I start a food blog to document my culinary adventures. It was the perfect idea.
Okay.
I now had something that could keep up with my endless energy and excitement about food.
An
audience just as passionate about cooking as I was. Surprisingly, my food blog and Instagram page did very well from the start.
Oh my God.
The more I saw people enjoying my content and my following growing,
yeah.
the more time I devoted to the creative process of recipe development.
Wow.
In addition to dedicating more time to the actual cooking, I also put a great deal of effort into making each post educational. I would research the origin of the dish and share with my readers all that I learned about the various rich cultures and histories from across the globe. As I built more recipes for my blog, I realized my iPhone camera was just not adequately capturing the stunning colors and details of my dishes.
What day is it?
I saved up money, bought a professional grade camera and some gear, and fell in love with the art of food photography.
Oh, food photography. Thank you, Quinn the Cultist, for the sleeping emoji, and I am right there with you. 4 minutes into this, and he said feminism, what, once?
I love being able to create a story with my food pictures.
Yeah.
From the linens to the plates to a single flower in the very back of an image. Every detail was carefully curated to convey a message and encapsulate a moment in time.
So you hide secret messages in photographs of food, do you? Well, now I got to wonder, with all that painstaking and meticulous attention to detail, what is the secret message in the pattern of the spices behind our speaker? I wonder if you analyzed the hex code of each shade of spice behind him and line those up. Would it spell something out? Would it tell us a deep, dark secret? I wonder.
As my production quality advanced, the range of dishes I could create and the number of recipes I shared did as well.
Okay,
and through it all.
Okay, all right, you're awesome. Whatever. You're really good at cooking. You're really excited about cooking. I'm excited that you're excited. I really am. I am jealous of people who have a passion. I can't believe I'm actually saying this. Please tell me about feminism.
A growing online community was following me along my journey.
Okay.
Throughout the process, I treated my social media and blog as not only a hobby, but a business.
You don't say, when you already said this was a career earlier. And okay. Thank you, Purple Pill Perspective. Is this talk feminist based off the misogynistic stereotype of women belonging in the kitchen? Doesn't that make him sexist? No. See, and I'm not being facetious when I say this. He is saying, or at least he alluded to in the beginning before he went off on his personal biography, that he stands in stark contrast to the stereotype that the kitchen is where women belong. So he's basically saying that he represents an aspect of gender equity in that regard. And again, maybe I'm being too generous in defending him, but he did make that point, or attempt to, at the beginnings.
I made schedules of what and when I would post and kept to those deadlines as if they were as strict as the ones for my school assignments.
Well, good for you. Honestly, that's how you should run a business and or a YouTube channel with a growing community. I mean, having a set schedule, setting expectations for your audience as to when they can find you and what the content is, and very good. It's very good advice for anybody starting out. So, okay. Feminism?
That meant rather than indulging in lazy Sunday mornings, I set my alarm for 7 a.m., eagerly jumped out of bed, and started my day with the hopes of accomplishing as much as possible.
All right. You're better than I am. You're more productive, you're more responsible, you're more go-getting, you're more passionate about something. You know what? I feel diminished simply thinking about myself in relation to you. You are so awesome. And then
my Sundays consisted of prepping food for that day's shoot, setting up the props for the pictures, cooking, styling, photographing the food, editing the photos, developing recipes for next week's shoot, and so much more. Soon I started capturing the attention of local press, and even national companies became interested in sponsoring my work.
Wow.
I was invited to host cooking demos around the country and began to view myself as not only a chef, but an entertainer as well.
Okay. Why do I care?
I loved and still love educating people and sharing my enthusiasm about food.
Oh, I believe it. I'm getting all the enthusiasm. This is Kyle. Thank you so much. He'll end this anecdote by saying that his obsession with cooking isn't considered traditional masculinity, and feminism is the only thing that encourages him to pursue it. Well, okay, Kyle, or shall I say Karnak, let's see if your prediction turns out to be true. And thank you so much.
And as I wondered how else I could further share my passion, video seemed like the natural next step.
What, you hadn't already been doing? Wait. You hadn't already been doing videos? Wait, did I miss a step somewhere? He was on TV. Okay.
So I started making YouTube videos for my own channel, where I hope to convey my recipes and excitement about food even better.
Okay, and
around this time, I started catching the attention of leaders in the digital space. Suddenly, while still a young teenager, I'm getting invited by executives at Instagram and Facebook to visit their New York offices for meetings. Both myself and my cooking are being featured by many of the biggest media publications, and my work is being recognized by many of my idols.
Okay, all right. You're totally awesome and amazing, and dude, don't break your arm patting yourself on the back. All right, I get it. And you know what? Sarcasm aside for a moment, it sounds like he is not somebody who just fell into whatever success he's had. He has worked for it. He has earned it. He is passionate about his subject matter. Great. I'm fine. I'm fine with that. Good for him. Feminism. Thank you, Killer Turnus. Love food, but Jesus, what's the point? I mean, if he's using TEDx as an advertising platform, he wouldn't be the first. But usually, if a speaker is using a TEDx as an advertising platform, what they're advertising is inherently intertwined with the subject of their talk, and not some long recitation of one's origins and career having nothing to do with the subject. Thank you, Quinn Cultist, for the drooling emoji. I'm right there with the emoji. And thank you again. This is Kyle. He'll then claim teenage boys need feminism so they're not forced to participate in traditionally masculine activities. I suppose, except apparently he got into food before he even knew about gender inequality. So, okay.
As time went on, my following grew into the hundreds of thousands. But what took my career to the next level was when I started a TikTok account and grew it from 0 to 1 million followers in just 4 months with short-form, high-energy cooking and food comedy videos.
Okay, all right. You're awesome. I feel like I'm a complete loser in life. I've accomplished nothing. I'm at least twice your age, thereabouts, or more slightly. And I haven't done anything half near this. And I'm terrible. And I'm useless. I'm a failure. Are you happy now?
To date, I built a community of over 1.3 million fans across social media. But my platform is no longer exclusively about food. Somewhere along the way, as I began to mature into a young adult, I began to have a lot more in my mind than just food.
Are we there yet? Have we reached the precipice? Shall we cross that last horizon?
I could have easily continued posting my new content according to the recipe for success that I'd spent the past few years perfecting. But I wanted to do more.
Please, have we reached the promised land?
I recognized my voice had influence, and it carried with my following as it grew rapidly. At this pivotal time in my own adolescence and social media career, I decided to switch up my usual narrative. Rather than exclusively discussing my latest recipe or new favorite food, I chose to also share my views about various polarizing issues, especially gender equity.
And we're slowly zooming in on him. This is the moment, guys. We've reached it. It's taken a long time. We've been through a lot together, but we're here now. Oh, thank God.
I began to educate myself and share what I learned with my followers, hoping to create a starting point for transformative dialogue.
Right. Okay. So you've gone from foodie to activist. All right. Proceed.
Through all my learning, what shocked me the most was that there were many people who didn't understand or value gender equity.
Who didn't understand or value gender equity. Okay, well, I hope you define your terms. Give us some examples. What does that mean? What does not understanding gender equity mean?
For me, it was something I'd always felt. It was the only thing I ever knew.
What do you mean?
Before giving this talk, I spoke to my mom about what she remembers about my journey to becoming an advocate for gender equity.
Before giving this talk just started, as far as I can tell, 7 minutes into it. So, anyway.
She told me it seemed to have happened pretty suddenly.
What?
As young children, the only reality we know is the one immediately around us.
Yeah.
My reality was I had a mom and a dad who, as far as I knew, were viewed in the world as equals.
As
I've always seen them my whole life.
Okay. And how were they not?
My father's an occupational therapist, and my mother's a high school math teacher who also is the head of the math department.
Okay.
Everything from income to household chores to childcare were juggled by both my mom and my dad. I wouldn't even say it was necessarily 50-50 because everyone in the family, regardless of their gender, helped out with everything in some way.
And welcome to most households, honestly. Mileage may vary family to family, but okay. And
so my parents didn't frown upon my early interest in cooking. It wasn't even a question whether they would support it or not.
Okay. I honestly don't know. I wonder. I don't know if our speaker has any brothers or sisters. It sounds like maybe he was an only child. I don't know.
As a young child, I had no understanding that my mother, not only being a teacher of higher math education, but in a role as department chair, was far from normal in many parts of the world.
As a child, you didn't understand that. Why would you?
Once I got older, I learned in school and online about the inequality due to gender in the world. And
Hold on. The equality due to gender in the world? Okay, where are we talking about here? Because things are vastly different, country to country, culture to culture. So if you're talking about worldwide gender inequality, then that is a conversation you can have that makes a bit more sense. But what are you talking about? What are you talking about, I guess, is the major question.
I was honestly shocked.
Really?
My ignorance and naivety due to my young age led me to know only of a world in which all women and men were treated equally. As I learned more about women who are denied education and other basic privileges and human rights in many countries, and the inequality that has existed throughout history and still exists today, my anger towards this flaw in society only deepened.
Which society? Which society are you talking about? Because just like you said, in many other countries, and they are different societies. So you're not consolidating everything that happens in other countries as pertaining to one country, are you?
I was appalled and wanted to know what I could do to do more to raise attention and personally help.
Okay, travel to the Middle East and advocate for gender equality. I guess. I mean, talking about it on a YouTube channel that, honestly, I don't even know who you are, and I've never heard of your channel before. I don't even know if you said what your channel was. Maybe you do reach a whole bunch of people across the world, a million people spread across the planet, which doesn't really amount to a whole lot in the grand scheme of things. But all right, so what did you do? What are you doing? How are you changing things all by yourself?
That is why I would never say I became a feminist. I've always been somebody who strongly believed that women and men are equals, but eventually realized that that belief was not unanimous. Just like there's no word for people who support something as logical and vital in life, such as breathing. I didn't even know there needed to be a name for believing in the equality of the sexes.
It's called egalitarianism. It covers just about everything. Feminism is not the word for equality of the sexes. Otherwise, it wouldn't be feminism. But go on.
I had never known there was a concept of feminism because I couldn't comprehend that being a feminist wasn't a given.
All right, well, already you're operating on incorrect definitions of words. You have fallen into the, dare I say, narrative that somehow feminism represents equality for both genders, when it does not. Now, second wave feminism, first and second wave feminism had true points. You know, feminism in lacking of rights, lacking of equality, and reaching for more of it. Third wave / radical feminism is not about equality for the genders. By law, you have to treat people equally. Equality of opportunity. If you find a situation where someone is being unequally treated on the basis of gender, that is a violation. Excuse me. Pepperjack, help me. That is the violation of the law. And like I say, oftentimes, and doesn't seem to sink in, laws restrain human behavior, or attempt to. Laws are an admission of the inherent flaws of human nature. They do not necessarily reflect the mental landscape of everybody living under those laws. So you can have people who have opinions that are not, quote unquote, equitable. But they're going to be risking a lot if they decide to practice those things in any legal context. So you can have a misogynist, you can have a misandrist, and they're still a valid, functioning human being. You may not like them, may disagree with them, but okay, how are you going to change minds? And where are you talking about? Because it really depends on the jurisdiction. In America, the law is pretty clear. And if you find a flagrant violation of the law, someone's going to get a big payday. So what are you talking about?
Sure. As a teenager who has a full-time career outside of social media, I've had my fair share of times I wish I didn't have to go to school. However, I didn't realize how lucky I was to have access to education.
Yeah, you and a whole bunch of girls. Because here's the thing, and here's a statistic I don't know if you'll bring up, but has been brought up to me many times. Do you know which gender tops the stats in bachelor's degrees in this country? Yeah, women. Yeah, so women have access to education in this country. Now, if you're comparing your situation to somewhere in the Middle East or something, then okay, but what does your cooking on YouTube have to do with changing minds in the Middle East, as an example?
It just baffled me that whole societies don't see the many downsides of not educating half the population and denying them equal rights.
On that point, I totally agree with you. There are places in this world that are living in some very sort of cut off your nose to spite your face sort of mentality about things, and very regressive, very backwards, very out of date sort of mentality. It's true. And I agree with you.
The more I learned, the more questions I had.
Okay.
Why should any individual be denied the pleasure and excitement that comes with academic inquiry?
Power. Control of those that want power and control. Denying education, denying knowledge to some demographic or some class division in your society is how you maintain control, by knowing more and having access to more. Why? It's about power. Maybe you already know that. Maybe you're talking rhetorically, but there you go.
Why can't they discover their own unique talents and passions that might lie outside of the societal norms of what they're supposed to do?
Because that would be a threat to the power structure. And those in power rarely want to give it up. And especially in societies where power is not legislated and distributed and put brakes on and checks and balances and such. So there you go. Maybe you're talking rhetorically. I don't know.
It felt to me that they were in essence being denied the right to create and live their own lives with no hope in the near future of a new reality because too few people knew or even cared that these injustices were occurring.
It's not that people don't know, and it's not that people don't care. It's that there is very little an outsider can do to change a society and a sovereign nation that operates under their own laws, traditions, and mores. I mean, we can sit here in America and decry the human rights violations in China. We can, as a nation, put some kind of economic sanction on them to try to punish them for it. The same goes for other countries that do things that we don't agree with. But beyond the levers of statecraft that might be open to us as a nation, China is its own country. Saudi Arabia is its own country. They are sovereign nations. They are independent societies. They're very different from us sometimes. And there's nothing we can really do to force them to change to the way that we want them to. So I empathize with our speaker's bewilderment and his idealism, if I'm understanding that correctly. I'm curious to see where he goes with this, as I have been for the last 9 minutes and 41 seconds. Thank you, Just Paul. This kid is a visual bingo. Sad to see someone so farking brainwashed. He means well. It's one of those things, it's like, I don't see anything to necessarily decry about this guy, except for maybe his speech structure as far as how he put this presentation together. But he means well. And admittedly, as far as I know, he's either just 18 or 19 or something. So he's still learning. Over time, maybe his knowledge will temper his idealism. A little cynicism never hurt anybody. But yeah, okay. But anyway, so what does all this have to do with changing the societies that are practicing this stuff?
Now I know I might be the least likely person to be a spokesperson advocating for gender equity.
No, you're neither the first nor will you be the last young person advocating for quote unquote gender equality, which in the new speak equals feminism. And being a celebrity, minor or otherwise, is also not new. So in this instance, all your other talents and passions aside, I hate to tell you this, you are neither unique nor special.
How could I, with my upper middle class background and private school education experience, have any idea about the struggle of young women in countries that I've never even been to?
You know what? Even though I didn't say the word, I'm going to circle privilege because that's about as close as you come in putting it in that context.
There were 1,000 reasons why I was not the person to speak up, but one compelling reason why it should be me.
Oh, okay. Tell us what makes you special.
Because I cared and could use my privilege to amplify the voices of those that don't share in the same privileges as I do.
Okay, so privilege, he actually said the words, that saved me that. And by the way, people don't have their own voices. Benevolent condescension. Yeah, because there's nobody in any of these countries you might be thinking of who are themselves speaking out when they can, as they're able to seek out their own rights. No, you are in a position of power where you can do something they can't. They don't have voices. I have a voice. My platform. Oh.
The very privilege I could have easily taken for granted was a basic human right I had to stand up for others. On International Women's Day in March of 2018, I did my first official Instagram post about feminism.
An official Instagram post? Wow, was it watermarked and certified?
Up until that point, I had talked about it before, but never as overtly as that day.
Oh my gosh.
The day before, I made a custom feminist shirt because after lots of searching, shocker, I couldn't find any boy-sized feminist shirts.
You couldn't find any boy-sized feminist shirts. Okay.
I stepped outside into the snow. Yes, it was snowing in March.
It was snowing in March?
To get some good lighting and had my mom snap a picture of me brandishing my homemade feminist shirt.
Wow, a homemade feminist shirt. Gosh, and on that day, the whole world changed.
I then spent the rest of the day writing my caption to share my message about the importance of being a feminist as articulately as possible.
You spent a day writing a caption? Okay, I have yet to, and I don't know if I ever will, cross the boundary into the realm of Instagram person, but I mean, I guess Instagram captions can be quite lengthy, so if you were really crafting a statement, okay, all right.
I knew the audience I was talking to and wrote accordingly.
Okay.
I needed this message to resonate with people who normally sneered or looked down upon feminism.
So wait. Your audience, we'll just say 1 million people or whatever, who have followed you for, I'm assuming, years at that point, who are interested in cooking, see a boy doing cooking, are probably fans of cooking shows, who cook themselves and so on. There was some significant portion of your audience that was misandrist or misogynistic, you think? You assumed? Really? Because I would think, all things considered, any statement of women and men should be treated equally would essentially be preaching to the choir. Now, again, maybe you have a whole slice of audience in different countries. I don't know. You haven't said. But all the same,
they needed to hear why they should care and what they can do once they do care.
Isn't that a little condescending? Isn't that just a little bit presumptuous on your part? Like, just because you suddenly discovered this aspect of reality that has been true for time immemorial, that everybody else doesn't know, has never considered, has never encountered, etc. I mean, you're talking about your privilege and... Okay.
Part of my post read, a common misconception is that gender inequality is a woman's problem. This couldn't be more false. It is a human problem because when women are educated and treated as equals, all of humanity will benefit.
So it's not a women problem, but women need to be the primary beneficiaries of the solution. Okay.
Just imagine how much greater the world would be if 50% of the population weren't held back.
In which countries? Which countries? Which is it?
When women are uplifted, so is the world as a whole.
Which countries? What are you talking about? Who is your target for this message? Just sending it blindly into Instagram? Because I'll tell you what, messages of supporting women's rights, feminism, etc. on Instagram, you didn't do anything novel. I don't know if you know that.
After that first post, I continued to use my platform to address gender equity in numerous other ways. The most public stance I took was a video I posted both on YouTube and Instagram titled "Why Every Teenage Boy Should Be a Feminist."
He said the thing. He said the thing.
A title that was unfortunately controversial.
Really? Tell us why.
I started off the video by saying, "Hi, my name is Eitan Berdath. I'm a 17-year-old male, and I am a proud feminist."
And you did that here, relatively, and then you went on a long personal diatribe unrelated to the subject matter. Did you do that in the first one too? Maybe that's why it was controversial?
Then for the next 4 minutes, I tried to calmly but passionately explain my point of view in a manner intended to resonate with my audience.
So you didn't give a long 7-minute recitation of your personal career and achievements? I should have watched that video.
Especially other boys my age.
Uh-huh.
I talked about the inequities that exist in this world for those that weren't aware.
Like, I mean, honestly, I can imagine in other countries and so on, but you have yet to give a single example of something or a locality of interest. So what inequalities are you speaking of? I mean, denied education? I mean, I guess that was one example. Sure, where? Where in particular, where that is practiced, are you talking about? And what of your actions is meant to change that? Or how do you think it is or would change that? Do you have any estimation of the effectiveness of your campaign on actually changing anything? I'm really curious to know, because if you're just throwing your virtue up against a brick wall and feeling like you're going to push down a brick, yeah.
Then explained why they should care, and then once they care, how they can help.
Again, don't you think that sounds a little condescending to thinking people? Don't you think that sounds a little presumptuous to thinking people? As if people did not already know, as if people who actually live under such restrictions or such oppressions don't already know that these things exist. You lived a very sheltered life, admittedly, a very sheltered life, and that is true. Unfortunately, or fortunately, I suppose, depending on how you look at it, your experience is not common. Do you not understand, with your whole admission of privilege, that you thus live in a relatively small percentile of the rest of the world growing up? So maybe, and I know I'm going to be, I can't believe I'm actually saying this, because this is one of those instances where it actually makes a little bit of sense now that I think about it. Maybe you do need to check your privilege.
The video was met by a lot of support from both fellow boys my age, as well as mothers, sisters, and fathers who were eager to show the boys and young men in their lives why they should care as well.
Yes, because boys generally don't care. Boys inherently, on the basis of their genitals, don't care about other people, do not care about treating other people well. They're selfish, they're barbarous, they're terrible. Yeah, if only boys knew. If only boys knew.
I have never and will never have the intention of being a male savior, and therefore am very careful how I say things and what I say in order to never portray that.
I don't think you succeeded here. I mean, and not even talking about a male savior. You're talking as a savior. You're talking as someone who is presenting himself as somehow enlightened as compared to all of the other heathen masses who just don't know, who are just unaware. And you will be the one to educate them because you are smarty and they are dummy. That's how it comes across. It comes across very condescending. Maybe you're not aware. And again, I want to reiterate. I understand he means well. I understand there are good intentions here. But he is awfully full of himself.
However, I truly believe in order to get an even more amount of people behind a cause, a diverse set of advocates is needed to speak to a diverse set of potential future advocates.
Okay. And?
I just don't think the video would have had the same effect on boys my age if it weren't coming from a peer.
A peer. A peer. So you think that simply the attributes of being male and young make you the peer of other boys? That you, as a million or hundreds of thousands subscriber, million Instagram followers, cook, chef, expert, TV show contestant, makes you a peer? Interesting.
Now, don't get me wrong.
I'm trying to get you right, but you're not making it easy.
Would have had the same effect on boys my age if it weren't coming from a peer.
Right.
Now, don't get me wrong. The response was not all positive.
And welcome to the wonderful world of the open market of ideas. I mean, like I say, I don't doubt that everything you're doing and saying is completely with good intent. But again, I could see how some people might take what you're saying and how you're saying it a little.
There were many people that used the comment section as a forum to either spread their misogynistic views or just hate on me for speaking about this by calling me all sorts of horrible names.
So they were all misogynists. Okay. All of them? All right. I can imagine there were some trolls in there. Sure. Okay. Yeah. The comment section on a video about feminism. You took on a controversial topic. You got some controversy. Please don't tell me that this shocked you.
I was called a plethora of misogynistic slurs that I definitely could have gone the rest of my life without knowing.
Okay. Misogynistic slurs? Misogynistic. I'd love to hear an example of what that means as pertains to you since you're male, but okay.
One even called me a soy chugger, referring to the estrogen in soy that, according to them, made me less of a man for caring about women's rights.
I'll admit, I've never heard soy chugger before. That's a new one. I hadn't heard that one before, but okay. Yes, I can believe that you received that message.
Rather than letting that hinder me from continuing to be an advocate.
So brave. So brave. Somebody called you a name, and that didn't hinder you. Well, I mean, good for you for having a thick enough skin not to let somebody calling you a bad name make you cower in a corner, I suppose. Honestly, the fact that you didn't just simply ignore them, you might want to learn how to do that too, but anyway.
I took these comments as proof that there was a lot more work to be done.
Okay. Okay. I see. So you had some trolls under the bridge as compared to the vast majority of people who probably either agreed with and or were neutral to whatever you had to say. And this meant that your work was not yet done because of people calling you names. Okay.
Clearly, there were a lot of people out there who needed to learn that caring about women's rights doesn't make you any less of a man.
Clearly. Mind reading assumes motives. Yeah, someone who's just trolling you, obviously that's proof that your cause is just and your crusade is right. Got it.
In the subsequent months, I contributed to various women-centric charities and encouraged my followers to donate as well, promising to match their funds.
Wow. Okay. Now, on that point, good for you. I mean, at least you put your money where your mouth is for the most part. So, okay. Fine, good. Giving to charities. I mean, I guess it depends on what charity and where the money goes and everything, but I'll, benefit of the doubt, they were established charities and actually help people. So good for you. Using your following to raise money for charity, no joke at all.
I firmly believe in the importance of monetarily supporting the cause, in addition to the vitality of creating dialogue.
Well, monetarily supporting a cause is what most people are actually able to do, especially from a distance, especially when you're talking about a particular issue that their organization's set up to specifically address. And, so, okay, I believe the same thing for cancer research and spinal research and all types of things. Good for you. Raising money for charity. No complaints.
Lastly, I try to support female influencers and cookbook writers by calling attention to their work, background, and when possible, their struggles.
Why do you feel that you are needed to do that? Why can't you let them speak for themselves? I mean, if you want to help out a friend, if you come across somebody you think is talented, on the basis of merit, that's great. Why do you see women specifically as needing your help? Just curious.
Though social media posts reach billions of people, I believe the most important way that I advocate for gender equity is through one-on-one conversations with other young men.
Oh, okay. So do you do that?
From my experience in doing so, it seems there's a misconception that feminism is about hating men.
Newsflash, depending on which brand of feminism you are talking about, it is. Thank you, Point Curation plus Philanthropy, like sending pepper jacks to Scribe. Yes, thank you, Point Curation. I need them. Okay. Well, we're almost done. I'm going to save what I was about to say for the end of this.
And thus, young men feel disconnected and turned off from the conversation.
Yeah.
In our conversations, I try to explain the concept of misandry.
Oh, okay. Tell me about misandry as relates to feminism.
Or the notion that men are inferior to women.
Yeah.
Which is often confused with feminism, when in reality, the two ideologies are complete opposites.
I feel more sort of like disappointed on behalf of the speaker than I am at all like mad or bewildered or something. He just doesn't know. I can't blame someone for just not knowing or for following someone else's narrative, but
I strive to break down their misconceptions and educate them on the feminist movement and its goals, as well as to bring to their attention the various injustices in the world.
So you're mansplaining. Got it.
Lastly, I remind those I speak with that gender inequity is not exclusively a women's issue, but a societal issue whose influence extends to both society today and future generations moving forward.
Which society and in what capacity? And you already contradicted yourself earlier by saying it's not a women's issue, but it should directly benefit only women. So, thank you, Killer Turnus. He's so innocent. After a fashion, yeah, okay. Like I said, I'm going to wait. We're almost done.
Posting on social media is a great way to reach a large number of people, but the real work is done offline without the public watching.
What real work? What has actually changed? What are you targeting as far as either a society or an organization? Or, specifically, the notion is grand and amorphous and on the high level, a positive one. But specifically, what do you think you are changing? Where are these changes going to take place? In your, pie in the sky utopian ideal? Where? How? In what way? And how is anything you're doing actually affecting that?
Without enacting on your advocacy in everyday life, you're simply partaking in optical activism.
Ugh.
To me, being a genuine advocate means calling out people in everyday life, no matter how uncomfortable it is to do so.
So a little Witchfinder general. Okay, got it.
For me, that means calling out other guys that I hear saying misogynistic things about women, donating a percentage of my income to fund women's education in countries that are traditionally denied access.
Okay, now, right there. There you go. Good for you. That's great. Okay? I mean, that is a direct action to try to change something in a part of the world where things are decidedly unequal under law or under tradition, depending on what we're talking about. So, okay, good for you. And I'm not being facetious. That's the first example he's brought up of something tangible that would actually address actual inequality in the world in that regard. So good for you.
Questioning things I'm taught to believe, and ultimately making sure that I speak up for women being treated unfairly in all parts of my life.
Do you question the idea that feminism as practiced in certain aspects in this country and elsewhere is not misandrist? Because if you aren't questioning that notion, you really, really should be.
And while not everyone has a platform that's massive that they can spread this vital message, nor is everyone in a position or an environment in which they can proudly vocalize these opinions, I encourage everyone to do what they can to bring attention to this cause and help us in our fight to establish women as equals across the globe. Thank you.
Okay. Let me back up slightly. So this wasn't a cut and dry sort of like, what is this guy talking about? Because he's talking globally, although he didn't get very specific. But then he's talking about comments on YouTube and feminism isn't misandrist and so on. I'm not sure if our speaker is aware that feminism is not a single monolithic ideology. It is as fractured as a mirror that's had a stone tossed through it. Okay. And I invite anybody who doesn't already know, I invite you to look up types of feminism. Just Google that. You will find in the images various charts that breaks down all the various types of feminism, from sex positive feminism to black feminism to equity feminism to environmental feminism. I mean, just radical feminism all across the board. And there are elements in these various feminisms that are decidedly misandristic. Misandristic, whatever. Anyway, you know what I mean. So when our speaker says feminism, honestly, I don't know what he's talking about, because feminism is not a singular defined concept. It's not. Neither as practiced, neither as taught, neither as advertised. It's all over the place. And maybe that's just the ignorance of his part, that he just doesn't know. He's been provided the singular, most positive spin on the concept, as feminism simply means gender equality, except it doesn't. As practiced, as promoted, it doesn't. Not anymore. If it did at one time in second wave, it certainly doesn't now. So that's fatal flaw number one. Secondly, maybe most primarily, half this talk had nothing to do with this. I mean, so far as, I guess, establishing his position as an influencer and justifying why he's in a position to make such declarations or advocacy, I suppose, but he could have done that in a minute and a half rather than 7. So that part just was, as you all heard, very strenuous. Okay, let me pull up the bingo card here. Oh, I didn't bring up the link on it. Sorry, 1 second, guys. If you have any comments or questions or suggestions for the bingo card as we proceed, please put them into the chat now. I will get to them in just a moment. I need to get the bingo card into the right tab so I can display it, because I forgot to do that before. I was so excited about getting that little intro thing going that I forgot to get the bingo card queued up ahead of time. So that is my fault, but I will endeavor not to make that mistake again. All right, so we got that, and boom. All right, so here's the bingo card as it currently sits, guys. Let's go over it once, and then I'll take your comments. Okay, attempt to coin new buzzword, buzz phrase. I didn't hear anything new. Word salad. That's a tough one. I didn't hear anything that made me go, what WTF are you talking about? So, yeah, systemic institutional. I don't know. Did he say systemic institutional? I mean, he talked about schools and he talked about societies that restrict women. So, I mean, institutional sexism. You know what? I'm gonna give it that one, because if he didn't actually say the word, he was talking about it. Patriarchy. Well, you can't talk about feminism in other countries without effectively implying patriarchy. So I'll take that one. Plays victim. He never played a victim. No, he is the best at all things and totally humble in his accomplishments and such. Wage gap. Did he talk about pay inequality? I mean, it's implied, but he never got that specific. So I'm not going to circle that one. Not yet. Anecdote that probably never happened. Everything he said as far as like the comments on his videos and everything else, nothing about that sounded unbelievable to me. So weightless example. He didn't really give any examples, like nothing specific. Like, I do this and I talk to these people and da-da-da-da-da, but he never gave us an example of anything. Here is a specific inequality. Okay, the lack of education or the suppressing of education for girls in other countries. Okay, but that's an example on point. There are parts of Pepperjack, thank you. There are places in this world that could use first and second wave feminism. That's the thing. That's always the dividing point. That's always part of the difficulty in having this conversation when it comes to global situations. If you're operating from a place or talking about a place that has laws that discourage and disincentivize discrimination. He's got a point, partially. Okay, white supremacy, no. A list, he didn't bring up a list unless you want to call listing off his personal accomplishments. But that's not a TEDx kind of thing. Toxic, no. I was kind of surprised you didn't talk about toxic masculinity. Make something about race, sex, etc. for no reason. I mean, there was a reason. He was talking about feminism. So when you're talking about feminism, bringing up sex or gender, it's on point for the most part. Microaggressions, unconscious bias. I don't think he ever said anything about bias. I could be mistaken. Leaves out vital context. I mean, the first 7 minutes had nothing to do with the subject at hand. It really didn't. It was irrelevant, superfluous. Like I say, he could have covered his reach in the first minute and a half. You know, as a YouTuber, as a cook who has X number of followers on YouTube and Instagram, I can do blah, blah, blah. And not even go into his history of how he got passionate about food. Everything. It had nothing to do with anything. Self-vilification or wretchedness. No, I mean, he did talk about how his own privilege, etc. I don't really think that's wretchedness or vilified, though. I didn't feel like he was putting himself down. Marginalization, not specifically. Takes credit for something others do, not that I can remember. Melodramatic pausing for effect. I didn't see any melodrama there. So, okay, let me update the card here, refresh this. Okay, so that's where the bingo card sits right now, guys, as far as I'm concerned. I will go now to the chat and look at your comments. Let's see, James Von Maxwell. No, he played the victim. He was complaining about mean words on the video. Victims, circle it. Oh, yeah. Okay, all right. I'll give you that one. Mean words on the internet. All right. And on a video regarding a controversial topic, which he Already had to have known it was controversial if he felt like he had to advocate for it. Okay, legit. So that's where we're at right now. Faithless, victim of online hate. Yeah, got that one. Okay. Faithless, not finding a shirt his size never happened. I mean, I don't know if that's true or if he just didn't look hard enough. Not finding a shirt in a boy's size. I mean, I don't even. I don't know. I'll take your guys' input on that. Okay. Does that sound like an anecdote that probably never happened? Put a 1 in the chat if you think it does. Put a 2 in the chat if you have reasonable doubt. As in reasonable doubt that it could have happened. In that sense. So what, or more simply, 1 if I should circle it, 2 if it's too far on the edge, and I shouldn't. Okay. Let's see. Advocatus Diaboli. Can we add a square for probable future serial killer? No. He's not a serial killer. He means well. Brian has opinions. Let the little such a... Okay. Let's see. Yeah, okay. Assassin of the Gray. Scarlet. He does not mean well. He wants the world to operate by his rules. Okay, and here's... I looked at this TEDx specifically because of the subject matter and the title, even though I don't think he actually proved his argument, because he would have to show that teenage boys as a demographic are completely oblivious to anything approaching treating people equally, and he didn't do that. But this is also why I generally... Now, he's 18. He's an adult. He's got his own business. He's got a career, so I don't feel too bad about it. But the flip side of that is the reason I don't usually do TEDx youth talks is because they're not experts. They're not fully grown adults. They're not necessarily as worldly as you would expect a teacher or a business person or a politician or something. So there's an allowance in my mind for someone who is still young enough not to know enough to have perspective. So, like I say, he means well. Hopefully, over time, he will see how his current way of thinking is very limiting, very condescending, and very unreasonable. But there are aspects to what he said that I agree with, like supporting movements or organizations in countries where such things are the standard, towards trying to change those. So if he's donating part of his own income to those organizations, he gets a little bit of leeway on my part. Even if he wasn't 18 or whatever, if he was just an adult doing that, I'd be like, okay, I can't argue with that. A lot of people are saying I should circle anecdote that never happened. Okay, all right. I will bow to your. I will defer. Bow. Me bow. I will defer to your wisdom, everyone. Okay, circle that one. Let's see. Assassin of the Gray. Scribelight. His ego is so fragile. The first time he is told no, he will be out with Antifa throwing bricks. Maybe. I don't know. He has a very, very inflated sense of his own importance. Probably from being given nothing but accolades, support, fame at a very young age, and so on. Maybe someday reality will come a-knocking. Who knows? Time will tell. Let's see. Kieverdam says, someone once said that the waves of feminism are like the stages of cancer. Well, like I said, the first and second wave feminism, as generally defined in the United States, were useful and beneficial insofar as they sought to achieve legal equity and equality for women where there hadn't been previously. So those two waves of feminism were necessary, were useful, and were productive to work towards a more equitable society. After that is where we get into the madness. So there are, like I said before, there are places in this world where first and second wave feminism would be a very good thing towards a more equitable society. Problem is, those individual societies essentially have to decide to engage in that. You can't force it as much as you might want to, So it's sort of the, Star Trek Prime Directive kind of thing. You're not going to succeed going into another society and trying to force them to change everything about their society. It has to happen of its own accord. Now, is it going to happen soon? Well, maybe sooner rather than later. If he does have one overall point, the internet, the relatively easier access to information and other sources of opinion and so on around the world is changing things in places where there has not been much change for generations or hundreds or thousands of years. So in that sense, he's not wrong in what he's saying, but what he's saying is not the whole truth. I'm not sure he knows that. Let's see. Mr. Scott J7, I don't know. I think he's saying, look where that got us, Scribe Light. Look where that got us. Maybe I'm missing something. Let's see. James Von Maxwell, women's rights are great, but the sexual revolution, the stripping of any sort of morality, that is oppression to the fembots, has most definitely not been a positive. No, I mean, things have in certain areas of our society right now have swung to the extreme in the opposite regressive, non-productive direction. Yes, obviously. Because if he's talking about our society, if he was only talking about in the US, there'd be a lot more to say. But you see, he's talking inclusively, which is also an incorrect way to start talking about feminism. But he was talking about globally. Except he was combining, at least rhetorically, what's going on in the West versus what's going on in, say, the Middle East or something, or the Far East. And you can't put those things together and talk about feminism as if it's one unifying umbrella concept, because it's not. It doesn't apply equally across the entire world. And isn't even, quote unquote, practiced the same way everywhere across the world. So, let's see. Ryan Rawlings and Scribe Light, the stream was rigged from the start. Oh, yes. Oh, New Vegas. Just a couple more minutes, guys, and then I'm going to wrap it up. Killer Turnus, welp, I got to go. I'll check out if there was a bingo later. Thanks for the mental breakdown. It was amusing, Scribe. Well, thank you for showing up, Killer, and thank you for the donation. Yeah, I don't think we reach a bingo. Close in some places. We filled up a lot of squares, but not quite. Not quite. But, well, there you go, guys. A teenage male attempting to apparently convince other teenage males to be feminists. His kind of feminist, which he didn't really define except as an equity feminist, which, if you're actually being honest about everything, is just an egalitarian, which does not require feminism. But then I don't think he understands that. But apparently he does know how to cook. So let's see. Yeah, I guess that's it, guys. I'm going to go... I think I'm going to go shoot things in a video game. Because I don't really cook. Unless I'm using a microwave. Or an oven for a TV dinner. Because I'm a gourmet like that. Everyone, thank you for joining me on this bewildering little presentation, especially the first 7 minutes or so, because I almost fell apart in that one. Thank you all for your attendance. Thank you all for your participation, especially. Thank you all for your generosity. As I mentioned on Facebook on a completely different subject earlier today, and I think I've said something like this before, but I will say it again. In this particular moment, as they would say, under the pandemic, under the political climate we're in, under the social climate we're in, civil unrest and on and on and on, it can be very daunting to maintain the inkling of a positive attitude day by day. And in all truth be told, doing these streams, interacting with you guys, having something to look forward to after a fashion, having an opportunity to vent on a regular basis and have a little catharsis, has been a saving grace of this period of time for me in my life, and I hope in some way for you as well. So thank you all again for your participation and seriously for attending these as you do. I really do appreciate it. If you would like to hear more from me or Satsu 2 Cents or the Ranting Monkey, you can find all three of us tonight on the Ranting Monkeys channel at 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern for The Lords of the Night, where we will talk about the news of the day, news stories you send us, what we've been up to on the intertubes, and then your questions and comments. I hope you all have a good rest of your Saturday. I hope you are all safe and well. If you're not well, please get well soon, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.